Oral tradition or oral lore is a form of human communication wherein knowledge, art, ideas, and cultural material is received, preserved, and transmitted orally from one generation to another. The transmission is through speech or song and may include folk tales, ballads, chants, prose, or verses. In this way, it is possible for a society to transmit oral history, oral literature, or oral law, and other knowledge across generations without a writing system, or in parallel to a writing system. Religions such as Buddhism, Hinduism, Catholicism, and Judaism, for example, have used an oral tradition in parallel to a writing system to transmit their canonical scriptures, rituals, hymns, and mythologies from one generation to the next. Oral tradition is information, memories, and knowledge held in common by a group of people over many generations. It is not the same as testimony or oral history. In a general sense, oral tradition refers to the recall and transmission of a specific preserved textual and cultural knowledge through vocal utterance. The Judeo-Christian Bible reveals its oral traditional roots. Medieval European manuscripts are penned by performing scribes. Geometric vases from archaic Greece mirror Homer's oral style. Indeed, if these final decades of the millennium have taught us anything, it must be that oral tradition never was the other we accused it of being. It never was the primitive, preliminary technology of communication we thought it to be. Rather, if the whole truth is told, oral tradition stands out as the single most dominant communication technology of our species, as both a historical fact and, in many areas, still a contemporary reality.
A printing press is a mechanical device for applying pressure to an ink surface resting upon a print medium, such as paper or cloth, thereby transferring ink, and marked a dramatic improvement on earlier printing methods in which the cloth, paper, or medium was brushed or rubbed repeatedly to retrieve the transfer of ink. An iterative process typically used for text, the invention and global spreading of printing press was one of the most influential events in the second millennium. In Germany around 4040, goldsmith Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press, which started the printing revolution. Modeled on the design of existing screw presses and single Renaissance, printing cells could proceed up to 3,600 pages per workday, compared to 40 by hand printing and a few by hand copying. Gutenberg's newly designed hand mod was made possible to preserve and rapid creation of metal movable type in large quantities. His two inventions, the hand mod and the printing press, together drastically reduced the cost of printing books and other documents in Europe, particularly for shorter print runs. Collaboration of a press became Simon, which the enterprise of printing and lent its name to a new medium of expression and communication. In Renaissance Europe, the arrival of a mechanical movable type printing introduced the era of mass communication, which permanently alerted the structure of society. The royalty instructed circulation of information and revelry. Ideas transcended borders and captured the masses in the Reformation and threatened the power of political and religious authorities. The sharp increase in literature broke the monopoly of the literary elite on deduction and learning and bolstered the emerging middle class.
Hear ye, hear ye. Prior to the widespread literacy down, criers were the means of communication with the people of the town. Since many people could not read or write, proclamations, local bylaws, market days, adverts were all proclaimed by a bellman or crier. In ancient Rome, they typically proclaimed public businesses during the market days. They formed a kind of weekend every 8 days. In Goslar, Germany, a crier was employed to remind the local populace not to urinate or defecate in the river the day before the water was drawn for brewing beer. Did you know criers were not always men? Many town criers were women. Bells were not the only attention-getting device in the Netherlands. A gong was the instrument of choice for many, and in France, a drum was used, or a hunting horn. In the observation of All-Hallow-Tide, it was customary for criers dressed in black to parade the streets, ringing a bell on mournful sound and calling on all good Christians to remember the poor souls. In order to gain attention of the crowd, the crier would yell, "Hear ye!" In medieval England, town criers were the chief means of news communication with the townspeople. Since many were illiterate in a period before the movable type was invented, royal proclamations, local bylaws, market days, adverts, even selling loaves of sugar, were all proclaimed by a bellman or crier throughout the centuries.
The golden age of radio, also known as the old-time radio era, was an era of radio in the United States where it was the dominant electronic home entertainment medium. It began when the birth of commercial radio broadcasting in the early 1920s and lasted through the 1950s, when television gradually suppressed radio as the medium choice for scripted programming, variety, and dramatic shows. Radio was the first broadcast medium, and during this period, people regularly turned in to their favorite radio programs, and families gathered to listen to the home radio in the evening. According to a 1947 C.E. Hooper survey, 82 out of 100 Americans were found to be radio listeners. A variety of new entertainment formats and genres were created for the new medium, many of which migrated to television. Radio plays, mystery serials, soap operas, quiz shows, talent shows, daytime and evening variety hours, situation comedies, play-by-play sports, children's shows, cooking shows, and more. In the 1950s, television suppressed radio as the most popular broadcast medium, and commercial radio programming shifted to the narrower formats of talk, news, sports, and music. For religious broadcasters, listeners supported public radio, and college stations provide their own distinctive formats.
Television, sometimes shortened to tele, is a telecommunication medium used for transmitting moving images in monochrome, black and white, or in a color and in 2 or 3 dimensions in sound. The term can refer to television set, a television show, or the medium of television transmission. Television is a mass medium for advertising, entertainment, news, and sports. Television, because available in crude, experimental forms in the late 1920s, but it would still be several years before the new technology would be marketed to consumers. After World War II, an improved form of black and white TV broadcasting became popular in the United Kingdom and United States, and television sets became commonplace in homes, business, and institutions. During the 1950s, television was the primary medium for influencing public opinion. Families gathered around the television to watch their favorite shows, previously found on the radio. TV even inspired the TV dinner. Dinners that were made to eat on a tray while enjoying your favorite programming. Families would often roll their television set into the dining room and watch the news while eating their dinner. For the first time, Americans were able to watch their president deliver an address, receive the daily news, and watch historical events live. In the mid-1960s, color broadcasting was introduced in the U.S. and most other developed countries. The availability of multiple types of archival storage media such as Betamax and VHS tapes, high capacity hard disk drives, DVDs, flash drives, high definition Blu-ray discs, and cloud digital video recorders has enabled viewers to watch pre-recorded material, such as movies at home on their own time schedule. For many reasons, especially the convenience of remote retrieval, the demand service by Netflix. At the end of the first decade of the 2000s, digital television transmissions greatly increased in popularity. In 2013, 79% of the world's households owned a television set, a replacement of the early bulky high-voltage cathode ray tube (CRT). Screen displays with compact, energy-efficient, flat-panel alternative technologies such as LCDs, both fluorescent, backlit, and LED. OLED displays and plasma displays was a hardware revolution that began with computer monitors in the late 1990s. Most TV sets sold in the 2000s were flat panel, mainly LEDs.
A computer is a machine that can be instructed to carry out a sequence of arithmetic or logical operations automatically via computer programming. Modern computers have the ability to follow generalized sets of operations called programs. These programs enable computers to perform an extremely wide range of tasks. A complete computer, including hardware, operation system, and peripheral equipment required and used for full operation, can be referred to as a computer system. This term may as well be used for a group of computers that are connected and work together, in particular a computer network or computer cluster. Computers are used as control systems for a wide variety of industrial and consumer devices. This includes simple special purpose devices like microwave ovens and remote controls. Factory devices such as industrial robots and computer-aided designs, and also general-purpose devices like personal computers and mobile devices such as smartphones. The internet is run on computers and is connected to hundreds of millions of other computers and their users. Early computers were only conceived as calculating devices. Since ancient times, simple manual devices like the abacus aided people in doing calculations. Early in the Industrial Revolution, some mechanical devices were built to automate long, tedious tasks such as guiding patterns for looms. More sophisticated electrical machines did specialized analog calculations in the early 20th century. The first digital electronic calculating machines were developed during World War I. The first semiconductor transmitters in the late 1940s were followed by the silicon-based MOSFET, or MOS transistor, and Mothula integrated circuit. Chip technologies in the late 1950s, leading to the microprocessor and the microcomputer revolution in the 1970s. The speed, power, and versatility of the computers have increased dramatically since then, with transistor counts and increasing at rapid pace, as predicted by Moore's law, leading to the digital revolution during the 20th to early 21st centuries. The World Wide Web, or WWW, is a global information medium which users can access via computers connected to the internet. The term is often mistaken using a synonym for the internet itself, but the web is a service that operates over the internet just as email or Usenet also do. The history of the internet dates back significantly further than that of the World Wide Web.